Hello there, my name is Dalton. Um, I am reading The Alcoholism and Addiction Cure, a holistic approach to total recovery, how to heal the underlying causes, how to end relapse, how to end suffering. This book is by Chris Prentice. I'll go ahead and show it up close. We're going to be starting on chapter 1 today. Might be, I don't know if it's showing it backwards or frontwards, but we're going to be reading chapter 1 today. I'm going to read all throughout chapter 1 and then give a short share about my alcoholism and a short story about who I was as an alcoholic and something that everybody needs to look out for whenever they get sober. So, maybe not in those sense, but here I'm going to start on chapter 1. So, I know it's all fun and games until the man starts reading. So, chapter 1, my pledge to you. Cure, restoring to a sound or healthy condition. 2, a healing. So here goes. Within the covers of this book, I will show you how you can cure alcoholism or addiction. Here, at the outset, I want you to notice that I do not mince words. I do not say, however, maybe, although. So, something that I struggle with, and that people might struggle with when someone is reading, is that I might try and say something or speak over them, or either I say words in my head instead of it not be a problem that you're dealing with, but I struggle to concentrate just as well as some people might struggle to concentrate. So what I'm saying is that when I read, people struggle to concentrate on what words I'm saying. So I want to encourage everybody to take a breath and take breaths while I'm reading, because that's something that people don't do. And it's kind of like an entertainment process. When you see an entertainer on TV, you focus more on trying to get a laughter out rather than breathing and listening. So breathing is the best medicine to take in what somebody is reading to you or preaching to you. So I'm going to start over on I do not say however, maybe, although, perhaps, or use other qualifying terms or conditions. By reading this book, you will learn how to cure your alcoholism or addiction. That statement is based on the results we achieve at Passages Addiction Cure Center in Malibu, California. The world's most effective center for the treatment of substance abuse. At Passages, we assist people every day to cure themselves. We don't cure them, we assist them to cure themselves. We're learning how to activate your mental and physical resources, and by getting qualified help, you too can cure yourself or help bring about a cure for your loved one. So, I don't believe that this is a step-by-step book, but this is some great text that I want to read to you guys today. So, although you and I have never met face-to-face and gotten to know each other, I consider you my friend. If we meet, you'll find that we share similar experiences, particularly with regard to dependency. You or your loved one are treading the same ground that I trod with my son Pax, who was dependent on heroin, cocaine, and alcohol for 10 years. You and I have felt the same despair, suffered the same hardships, experienced the same losses, seen the same rending of friendships and family, watched ourselves or our loved ones relentlessly spiral downward, and had our hearts broken and our spirits dashed. The difference between us, if there is a difference, is that Pax has come out the other side whole, healed, and cured, while you or your loved one is still caught in the grip of the powerful, soul-sucking vortex of dependency on addictive drugs, alcohol, or addictive behavior. Pax began using marijuana when he was 15, along with an occasional beer. I did what I thought to deter him from that behavior, but he continued. At the time, I was unknowledgeable about how that seemingly harmless behavior could escalate into hard drug use. So we've all had a drug that's been a gateway for us to use even more, and that's something that I used to do with smoke marijuana. And it all started with me drinking alcohol at first, and then it turned into me smoking cigarettes, then it turned into me smoking other things like marijuana. So when Pax was 18, he come home from school one day and began crying. He told me he was hooked on heroin for the next 6 years. I battled heroin for Pax's life. Pax wanted to quit, but he couldn't. He didn't know how. He went to 30-day programs, 60-day programs, and 90-day programs. Nothing worked. He was clean 40 times or more. Each time he relapsed, I would ask, why? Each time he did not know the answer beyond saying it was the incredible high. It was as if he was powerless to resist the temptation. I never knew from one day to the next if I was ever going to see him again, and I was constantly afraid I would lose him. Several times I almost did lose him. We went to drug therapist, alcohol therapist, psychologist therapist, psychiatrists, addiction specialists, and counselors of every sort. As I look back on those sessions, I remember asking myself why none of them were seeking to discover why Pax was using heroin and other drugs. They all had suggestions for rehab, meetings, 12-step programs, and more counseling, but not one of them initiated any investigation into what might be a probable cause of his substance abuse. In nearly every case, their suggestions were directed to creating an environment where he would be less apt to use heroin, and they advised me to punish him for his bad behavior. I learned firsthand, however, that punishment doesn't work as a means to correct substance abuse, even when someone is facing death. So, when we, or some people relating, have ever gotten into a depressive state, they've pretty much just tried to get their hands on anything that they could ever get on. And so that's something that I did. I've definitely done more than just alcohol. I don't want to get too personal or talk too much about what I've done, but there's a phrase in here in the Narcotics Anonymous book where it talks about once an addict, not always an addict, and that's one phrase I like to stand with. So I'm going to keep on reading here. At one point during Pax's odyssey, a gang of drug dealers drove him into the desert to kill him because he had stolen drugs from them. They forced him to dig his own grave. Somehow he talked them out of doing that by convincing them that he could get the money. The day after that harrowing experience, his jaws were broken in 2 places and wired shut from being kicked in the face by another drug dealer who wanted money from him. He came home from the hospital, his teeth pointing in all directions, barely able to speak. And though his teeth, he was sifting food and smoking heroin and using cocaine, at one point, determined to break the cycle of drug use. I took him away with me to an isolated cabin in the Big Sur Mountains on the coast of California. I kept him absolutely clean for 9 months. The first week we left Big Sur, he used heroin, cocaine, and alcohol. I believed that Pax was turning to heroin for a reason. I did not know what the reason was, but I believed there was one. In his drug-free days before he became dependent, he was athletic, outgoing, happy, and a good student. Even achieving a Student of the Month award. He wanted to stop using heroin and cocaine and return to a normal life, but he was unable to stop. The day Pax discovered the why behind his dependency was the last day he ever used drugs or alcohol. In that moment, he was able to free himself of his addiction. So, a lot of people don't really know what they're going into when they decide that they want to recover and completely quit using alcohol. And I'm not here to call anyone out, but I'm also not here to call myself self-centered because some people choose to drink rather than some people who want to get sober. So whenever you're in recovery, make sure you surround yourself with those people that are trying to get sober and want to stay sober. So today, Pax is whole in every way, healthy, happy, prosperous, clear-minded, completely cured, and helping others to achieve the same freedom that he was achieved. It was Pax's idea to open Passage's Addiction Cure Center. He said, "Look, we know how to do it. Let's do it together." Pax and I founded and are now co-directors of Passages, where we work side by side every day. I see him and I'm proud of him and of what he has accomplished and is accomplishing. He has been reclaimed from the land of the dying, from an addiction to alcohol and addictive drugs that was so powerful that at times it seemed impossible to save him. Yet save him we did. All credit to him and to the generous and loving universe of which we are all a part. So I feel close to you, even though we haven't met. I have no axe to grind here, no hidden agenda. I want to help you. I can help you, if you will let me. But to do so, you must come to see me as a friend who has your best interest at heart, a friend who has traveled the same road that you or your loved one is now traveling, and who has reached the best destination possible, a completely reclaimed life. Giving back. During our journey to hell and back, Pax and I learned many things about the world of alcoholism and addiction. We researched everything that we could find about treatment programs, alcoholism, and addiction, and we learned by experience that did and did not create lasting recovery, both in Pax's life and in the lives of others in treatment. So we've all been in some sort of, well, I can't really necessarily speak for everyone, but some people have all been in that place where they've been like, all right, I got to do something other than sit here all day. And I got to do something that's going to jump me into the next step of recovery. I've got to fully and admit and surrender, go somewhere where I can figure out how am I going to jump back onto the sobriety train or whatever train you're on, whether you're trying to be sober for the rest of your life or trying not to be. Some people have to take that next step in recovery to completely surrender to God and your health and well-being, and that's something that everybody and I should encourage everybody to do. So, and we learned by experience what did and did not create lasting recovery, both in Pax's life and in the lives of others in treatment. When nothing else worked, we created a holistic, hand-tailored program that saves Pax's life. So, I could talk all day, and I would love to talk all day because some people go through so many different things rather than others that are much harder, and some people's stories are so horrific before sobriety. When they are sober, they have the joy and the conversations with people that uplift them and uplift others because of how horrific their experience was when they talk, and when they are sober, it's a very good, uplifting, and encouraging thing to talk about. So, Passage's Addictions Cure Center, he and I use what we learned curing him to help others discover the roots of their addiction or alcoholism and break free. So, alcoholism and freedom. Imagine putting those two on a chart, and imagine not talking about it so much. So I'm going to keep reading. I've written this book to give you hope and to share with you what works. By following the guidelines on these pages, the same guidelines we use at Passages, you will look at alcoholism and addiction in a revolutionary new way. And you will be able to put together your own personalized, holistic treatment program. So in a revolutionary way, you'll be able to put together your own personalized, holistic treatment program. So some things that I wrote down earlier is something that I struggle with because I'm so often doing my own thing that's not really much, is I wrote some words down, some jots down that I struggle with, whether I'm in a sociable setting or whenever I'm trying to get in a sociable setting, or either I'm well affirmed with my well-being, but I'm not able to talk to other people because I've been so far along away from everyone. So these are some words that I've written down: was chemical imbalance, concentration, guilt, self-blame, insecurity, trauma, lack of acknowledgement, point a wrong, listening to a speaker, you are a speaker. Nobody can claim a hobby. We come as more than a billion. We come as more than a million. We come as more than a billion. There's so many other lives out there. When I say point a wrong, I don't mean that you should point a wrong. I mean you're wrong for pointing a wrong, and I'm wrong for trying to point a wrong in you. And those were all the words that I have written down. And I think that a lot of people have self-blame for an odd reason. That's something that we can't control. And insecurity can be caused by self-blame, and that can cause a whole conundrum of guilt. So I want you to know that I am intimately involved in the lives of people who come to Passages for help. This is in the book here. With those who, like you, have become dependent on drugs, alcohol, and other addictions. During their time of healing at Passages, I learn what life is like for them. I talk with them about their lost dreams and their shattered lives, and I talk with them about a return to good times. I assure them that they will achieve a complete cure. I ask them how they're feeling, whether they're sleeping well, and whether they have any concerns. We become friends. I also talk every day with members of our team of therapists. I ask them about each other's progress, or I ask them about each client's progress, about who needs more work, about who has concerns that need to be met, and about who's making the leap into the hyperspace of believing that they are cured. Every Thursday, I participate in the weekly treatment team meeting where we discuss each client's progress and decide what his or her most important next steps are during the following 7 days. There's something that we love to hear is that I'm cured, you're cured, or you're cured and I'm cured. That's something that we love to get a jolt of, is freedom. And when we get too much freedom, we might not, no one wants to hear when we might get too much freedom, but it's always good to come back to the text and the words, or either someone else in conversation, to be able to speak with them and for you to be able to speak to them and have freedom. And I'm going to start again. Every Thursday, I participate in the weekly treatment team meeting where we discuss each client's progress and decide what his or her most important next steps are during the following 7 days. We decide short-term and long-term goals. We plan carefully, knowing that our clients' lives are at risk. All the therapists come to know each other and their clients intimately, and we all seek the same goal: to discover the cause of their dependency so we can help them to heal themselves. We're involved in the deepest parts of our clients' psyches. We learn their hidden fears, their pain, their hopes, their heartaches, their losses, their deepest sorrows, their embarrassments, their traumas, the times they were raped, beaten, humiliated, forced to do unnatural acts, lied to, betrayed, and all of the 1,001 heartaches and sorrows that come to us all. We learn of what they've done to others and of the guilt, remorse, and pain they are carrying. We offer them safe passage through to the other side of guilt and remorse, where healing occurs. That's where our name, Passages, came from. I also return the phone calls from people who want to come to our program or who have a loved one they want to send to Passages for healing. I tell them about our programs. They relate to the stories of their lives or the lives of their loved ones. I ask them what their world was like before the crushing effects of addictive drugs and alcohol devastated their lives. That's when I hear about the good times, the times before they or their loved one became dependent on addictive drugs or alcohol. If I'm talking to the person who has become dependent, I hear their yearning for a return to how they used to be before they became substance abusers. If I'm talking to someone whose loved one has become dependent, I hear their yearning to get the loved one back. So we read over some sensitive topics, and that's the good thing, and that's the obstacle that some people can't jump over. So when we're able to conversate and talk about those topics, that's when we can experience freedom again. That's what everyone That's what everyone wants, to get back to the loved one who is lost to dependency, or if the caller is the one who is addicted, to get back to state of normalcy. One mother whose son went through the Passages program about 3 years ago said that during the 12 years of his drunkenness, all she ever hoped for was to get him back. She said that was what we did for her. We gave her back her son. At graduation ceremonies at Passages, when the parents and friends of those graduating speak, the most common comment is, "Thank you for giving me back the person I love." At Passages Addiction Cure Center, that's what we do best. It's what we're known for, returning people to the condition they were in before they began using addictive drugs or alcohol, but freed from the underlying conditions that caused them to use those substances in the first place. In most cases, their condition is better than it ever was before. Emerging from a long, dark journey, because many people have learned that life is tough, that dreams can't be fulfilled, and that tragedy strikes, because they have been told the lie repeatedly that alcoholism and addiction are incurable diseases. And because they have experienced relapse many times, they don't believe that a complete cure is possible. In their first few days at Passages, I see them cautiously moving forward toward that belief, as though they are itching out onto a frozen pond where the ice may not support their weight. So some people might feel like they're way too far gone, rather than not necessarily completing the program. They just feel like they're too far gone for somebody that listens to them doesn't care, but they do care. So they're hesitant, almost afraid to believe that they will be well again. As the treatment progresses, they gain confidence from the therapist and from the other clients who have been in the program a little longer than they have. Within a week, they're fully into the program and the change is becoming apparent. They talk to me because they trust me and know that I want to help them. I hold a vision in my mind of what they were like in their best moments before addictive drugs and alcohol took over. So there was a life before we started using drugs or having some sort of substance abuse in our lives, and we want to fight to get back to the life that we had before so we can live the life that we still have today and that we're grateful for. So I hold that vision strongly, and they sense that vision and begin to believe in a return to that condition. From the moment they walk through the door, I hold the intention clearly in my mind that they will return to a state of perfect balance, perfect health, and renewed zest for life. I see them being transformed as they work with our team of therapists, each one of whom holds the same vision of a complete cure. I see the miraculous, nearly unbelievable change as they emerge from their long, dark sojourn through the land of dependency. I had a metaphysics group every Tuesday morning where we talk about spirituality and personal growth. I tell them about our universe, about how it works, and about their place in it. I tell them about a universal law and how it affects them. They learn how their thoughts and emotions not only affect their bodies, but actually create their bodies, their health, and their very lives. They learn that they actually are the universe, a part of it, and that as the universe is eternal, so too are they. In a relaxed state of mind, they are introduced to their perfect self-images. They begin to see themselves differently. They lose that horrible image of themselves as incurably diseased alcoholics and addicts, and they replace it with one that is pure, bright, virtuous, whole, healthy, and forever free of addictive drugs and alcohol. I see their smiles come as their confidence begins to grow, as they come to understand a new way of life, and as they begin to transcend all that was holding them back from a life of sobriety, happiness, and the fulfillment of their dreams. I see the relief wash over them as they learn to see all the hurts from the past in a new light, as rape, incest, betrayal, physical and mental trauma, and all the other indignities to which they've been subjected take on a new meaning. They begin to place those events where they belong in the past, where though painful and even disastrous, they were an essential part of the lives from which they can learn and grow. I see the hurts from those personal injuries, the anger, the rage, the sadness, and the humiliation dissolve in the light of a new way of seeing. I provide one-on-one consultations with those who want them or who I believe need them. As the weeks progress, I see them begin to nod in agreement as I describe how they relate to the universe and how what has happened to them was part of a natural unfolding that will ultimately come to benefit them. I talked to them after they had a particularly good session with one of our therapists, and I see their awakening taking hold. Their smiles reappearing, their heads lifting, their shoulders squaring, and their determination returning. I also talk to our clients when they are ready to graduate after their healing has been accomplished. I watch them as they emerge into the clean air and bright sunshine of freedom. As they return to complete sobriety without fear of relapse, I hear the profound gratitude and wonderment in their voices as they prepare to depart. So I'm contemplating whether or not to read to chapter 2, so I'm going to keep reading. It's so good for people who can overcome addiction to be able to be brought into that light rather than be sheltered in darkness beyond their will because they lost the sense of who they used to be. So I'm going to share a story. I used to be in a dark place, and when I say I used to be in a dark place, I mean it wasn't necessarily the setting or the eye view of where I was. It was the mindset and the mental health that I had when I was an active user. And so now that I'm not an active user anymore, I am able to open the blinds, or open the blinds in the living room, or open the blinds in my own room to let light in, rather than otherwise the light that I'm able to share through the Word. So that's very important for a depression side of things. If you are trying to overcome addiction in a suppressive or in a depressive state, you may feel like you need to substitute your emotions and activeness and sobriety how you used to with drugs and alcohol. So you have given me back my wife who was lost in drunkenness all those miserable years. I still find it hard to believe. So that's an odd thing to read, but some people lose what's closest to them because they chose alcohol and addiction more so rather than what they were grateful for before, and what they can learn to be grateful for and what they can have again once they get sober. So another family member of a graduate wrote this note to Pax and I from England. I'm writing to tell you that Clarence is doing wonderfully well. I wish we had a passages in England, but we don't. I believe there is no place like Passages anywhere else in the world. I'm thanking you for our entire family. I'm going to stop right there. I didn't finish chapter 2. I got one more thing to read, but I'm going to stop right there, and I'm going to end it on what I love in a book that I encourage people who have suffered from addiction or have suffered from some sort of traumatic experience in their life, is that there's a phrase saying in here that says, if I can find it, I'm not sure what it is. I'm gonna go off what I had said earlier. Was once an alcoholic or once an active user, not always an alcoholic, not always an active user, or just completely sober in a sense. It's a funny thing to say. How I just phrased it just now is once an alcoholic, not always an alcoholic. Sober. Main thing and goal is to not relapse. And so that's what fellowship is for, and that's what I encourage to others. That's what I try to encourage upon myself. I haven't found a fellowship group, an in-person meeting group, but I cannot wait to meet friends and meet people who are on the same spiritual sobriety journey as I'm on. And my name is Dalton, and thank you guys so much for listening. And I hope everybody has a wonderful weekend and a wonderful day today. God bless.